After a slow overnight crawl, Artemis is now on the launch pad, the most powerful rocket ever, ready for a new chapter in human exploration.
It's a future where NASA will land the first woman.
Artemis Mega Moon Rocket, the next big step in space exploration. 50 years after the Apollo moon landings, NASA is again gearing up to land humans on the lunar surface. Artemis will be the first mission to land the first woman and a person of color on the moon. The Artemis success will establish the humans' first long-term presence on the moon. Scientists can learn more about the moon and what is around it, which will be the next big step in space exploration that can make us closer to building human societies in space. So what exactly is the Artemis program? What are its goals? How many missions are part of it? And how long will it take for its completion? Stay with us to find out. A bit of history. Artemis is not a single mission, but a collection of several, including the ones that were previously canceled by NASA. The Constellation Program and Asteroid Redirect mission are also parts of the Artemis mission. The Constellation Program was initiated in 2005 following the NASA Authorization Act of 2005, which included the development of Ares I, Ares V, and the Orion Crew Exploration Vehicle. The goals of this program were to complete the International Space Station, return to the Moon no later than 2020, and send a crewed mission to planet Mars. In 2010, President Obama cited that the Constellation Program was unviable and canceled it. He instead proposed the development of a new program which would build a heavy-lift rocket that can send a crewed mission to Mars. An additional $6 billion budget was approved for the project. Obama also signed into law the NASA Authorization Act of 2010, which included the development of crew exploration vehicles that are capable of supporting missions beyond low Earth orbit. The law also called for the immediate development of the Space Launch System, which would be the follow-on vehicle to the space shuttle. The Authorization Act of 2010 also ensured support for commercial orbital transportation services, commercial crew development program, and commercial resupply services. In 2017, President Trump brought a change to national space policy and signed Space Policy Directive 1, which integrated the NASA programs with private space agencies that shared the same goals. The new policy directs NASA to lead an innovative and sustainable program for exploration with commercial and international partners to enable human expansion across the solar system, and to bring back to Earth new knowledge and opportunities. Artemis I is the first step of the Artemis program, which is basically the uncrewed test of SLS and Orion. Orion is a reusable space capsule which was designed by European Service Module and Lockheed Martin. The capsule can take a group of 6 astronauts beyond low Earth orbit and can last up to 6 months when docked. In the first step, Orion will be placed in the Moon's orbit and then returned back to Earth. The SLS will use interim cryogenic propulsion stage to send Orion to lunar space. The process will come to halt once Orion reaches retrograde distant lunar orbit and will remain there for 6 days. It will come back to Earth on the 7th day. The launch of Artemis II is planned for 2024, and it will be the first crewed mission of the Orion and SLS. As per NASA, the mission will include a crew of 4 who will perform extensive testing of the spaceship in the Earth's orbit. After that, the spacecraft will be boosted to the free return trajectory around the Moon. It will put Orion on the path of re-entry to Earth and splashdown. Artemis III is the most important mission of the Artemis program, as it involves landing humans on the Moon. With the help of a supporting mission, it will place the human landing system into the near-rectilinear halo orbit of the Moon before the launch of Orion. The HLS is designed to help Orion dock with it on the surface of the Moon. The 2 astronauts from the crew will descend to the HLS and spend 6.5 days on the surface of the Moon. These astronauts will perform some tests on the surface of the Earth, including at least EEVAs, and ascend back to Orion via HLS. Orion will then take the crew members back to Earth. The mission is planned for 2025. Artemis IV is a quite complex mission which intends to send a crewed mission to the Lunar Gateway Station. The mission will use the SLS Block O to reach halo orbit. It also involves prior support missions, which will deliver gateways modules to halo orbit. Not much detail is available on the Artemis V, but it is proposed that the mission will land a crewed mission on the lunar surface again. But this time, the infrastructure available on the Moon will be far more advanced and sophisticated. It will include rovers, habitats, resource extraction equipment, and scientific instruments. NASA has several important objectives and goals that it wants to achieve with the Artemis program. The first of them is equality, as no woman or person of color has stepped foot on the Earth. NASA wants to change that, and it is exactly why the first ever mission since the Apollo will be crewed by a female astronaut and a person of color. NASA said in a statement, astronauts will live and work in deep space and will develop the science and technology to send the first humans to Mars. Furthermore, back when Apollo landed on the Moon, the technology was not as sophisticated as it is now. The Artemis missions will put our technology to test to determine whether it is actually capable of supporting a crewed mission beyond low Earth orbit. If the missions are successful, mankind can colonize and explore more about space sooner than you think. Back in 1969, when the first humans landed on the Earth, it was not a joint venture but a project organized solely by NASA and the United States government. It did not have the stakes of private companies or other space agencies in it, but with Artemis, things are different. The most important aspect of the Artemis mission is the extraction of resources. Scientists believe that there is a presence of water on the Moon, and there are deposits of rare minerals as well. Because of the sophisticated extraction machinery, NASA can bring much more back to Earth. What next to expect? Well, for now, all eyes are on the Artemis I launch. If everything goes as per plan, it could be the next big step in space exploration after the development of the James Webb Telescope. The missions can bring us even closer to understanding space and colonizing it as another home. If we are able to make the technology even more sophisticated, the resources in space can be used for the betterment of mankind on Earth. We hope this video was fun and informative. Stay connected with us to learn more about space discovery. We will see you in the next one.